What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and of course I'm from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed below or directly at WiseTake.com. If you look at the ticker DFS game to the next level, we are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe, hit the notifications bell, don't miss out on any of the free content we put out. Like the video when you get a chance, leave a comment. Like to hear back from you. Most importantly, share the show. The more you share, the more we grow, the more we're able to put back into the product. Appreciate y'all. Let's get into the slate. We've got 10 games to get through, a little bit of a later lock, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to start things off with Sacramento and Boston. De'Aaron Fox is expensive, but for good reason. I actually do like the spot for Tatum and Brown. Keep in mind, Kemba Walker is back, and his price is actually the most appealing of the bunch. Though you could argue that Jaylen Brown at 7.5 on DraftKings is one of the better prices. He's 8K on FanDuel. To put it, 7.5 on FanDuel because he's 8K on DraftKings to put it in perspective. Plus, he's coming off back-to-back 50 burgers. Not bad for Mr. Jaylen Brown. So I can get down on that. And I'm cool with Rashawn Holmes. This is a situation where bigs have typically done well. Tyrese Halliburton is only 5'9 on FanDuel. He's been starting with Bagley out. Supposedly, he was going to be held on a minutes limit, but he did play 32 minutes against Washington. Halliburton is only 5'7 on DraftKings. This is probably a pretty good spot for either him or Hield. And my gut tells me to roll with Halliburton because he's cheaper. Though Hield's minutes are absolutely fine. But typically, people that could shoot well have success against Boston, right? The shooter on the squad, and you could argue that Hield has that role, but I think that the assists and everything else give Halliburton the edge in terms of ceiling at this point. Harrison Barnes, his price has gone down. He had like 30 at halftime, finished with 38, so didn't have the most, the greatest second half. But 5'9 is a little bit too cheap. Granted, I do recognize his matchup. Robert Williams balled out, man. This dude has been awesome. He's been really good. Played 26 minutes. We know Thompson is out, so that's could have led to him playing more. But he's been awesome, and this is a really good spot for centers. As good as Rashawn Holmes is offensively, he's almost as bad defensively. Marcus Smart is fine, hasn't really shown a ton. Daniel Tice is pretty cheap. 25 minutes against Cleveland was terrible after playing a good game against Utah, but not the worst spot, I would argue. This game's got some potential, but we're going to move on to San Antonio and Cleveland. San Antonio games have been kind of miserable, right? It's just been blah. No DeRozan still. DeJounte Murray, this is actually a really good spot for DeJounte Murray, and the price has come down on both sides. He's been a little disappointing, to say the least, but the minutes look good, right? Against Chicago, he did play 39 minutes. Hasn't really shown a ton of upside, but this is a good spot for him to capitalize and go for 50. We know he's possible. We know he's capable of doing it. Jared Allen's price has come down on FanDuel. He's 6'7 over here. He's playing big minutes for the most part, right? Love came back for a cup of coffee, but now he's not back out. How much is he? He's 7'4 on DraftKings. Now, the Spurs have been better at rim protection with Podol down there, no doubt. But something to consider, Derek White is only 4,800. He's also been very disappointing. He did play well against Chicago, so I could see him kind of trending. He's 5'5 on DraftKings, a little bit more expensive. Keldon Johnson is 5K on DraftKings, only 4.8 on FanDuel, and he's coming off of a pretty good game. So I actually think we can get behind a couple of these Spurs. They have not played well, but neither has Cleveland. So it just kind of gives you some hope, I guess. Some interesting plays nonetheless. We'll keep it moving. Utah and Toronto, back-to-back for Toronto, coming off of a loss. Toronto's been terrible, man. And they got everybody back. Well, not everybody. I think OG might still be out, or at least he was. Did he come back? No, he's set to return. So it'll be OG's first game back. They've been getting slaughtered by forwards, so I'm sure they'll enjoy him coming back. Decent spot for Gobert. Van Fleet's price is up there. He played 32 minutes in his first game back after missing a pretty good amount of time with the COVID protocol shit, so that was pretty impressive. Norman Powell's coming off an awesome game, but I am concerned that with OG coming back, we could see his minutes reduce a little bit. They finally moved Boucher to center, which sucks, but just to reiterate how much of a good spot it is for Gobert. Pascal Siakam, Played 30 minutes, didn't look so great, but the price is fairly low. I'm glad they moved him to power forward, a little bit easier to play him there. This would be an interesting time. I expect Conley back, right? Like, I'm assuming, which is going to hurt everybody else's upside. But I will say this about Utah, man. Teams have been going off against Toronto because they've been terrible. Indiana, Miami. Buckets has been awesome. The Pacers have not been as good defensively as they have been in the past, in years past. Sabonis' prices were probably where it should be. Bam's fine. This game is just not all that attractive. Karis LeVert is 5'6". At least they raised him a little bit on FanDuel, but probably still within that range. He's 6'9" on DraftKings. Give you some insight. But Turner's cheap, but there's a reason he's cheap. He's 5'9" on DraftKings, 5'9" on FanDuel. I just don't love anything really. Goran Dragic is really cheap, but again, he just has not played all that well. Maybe some Tyler Hero. He's been okay. It's just Miami games just aren't never that great, right? But I do think the Miami side, outside of LeVert, is the more interesting because of the way the Pacers have played. But Karis LeVert probably going to be popular once again on FanDuel. Not on DraftKings, but on FanDuel. Detroit and Houston. John Wall is questionable. Wall has not played since the All-Star break. Pretty impertinent because I think Wall's status, I know Wall's status is going to depend on, or what we do with Kevin Porter Jr. is going to depend on Wall's status. $7K for Kevin Porter Jr. is probably not expensive enough for the upside he's shown. Playing Detroit, who's not a great defensive team. 7-2 on DraftKings, still within reach if Wall is out. If Wall is in, you have to imagine that's going to hurt his upside. Christian Wood played 26 minutes against Golden State. This is a revenge spot for Christian Wood here. I do like Christian Wood. I'm curious to see if they would want to up his minutes because 8-1 is a little expensive for a player that, and 8-5 on DraftKings, a little expensive for a player that may not, it probably won't get no full run. But I'm at least intrigued. Depot's fine. Jeremy Grant's kind of cheap. Right, like his matchup here with no PJ Tucker and all that should be decent. I know he hasn't really shown a ton of ceiling, but Houston does play fast, which should help him. Delon Wright's coming off of an awesome game. We were heavy on him. A little revenge action. Josh Jackson, let's take a look at you, my friend. 23 minutes against Toronto. Did play well. Anytime he's cheap, I'm at least looking. Sadiq Bey is coming off of a smash. I think he's going to be pretty popular. If he ends up popular, I don't think I want too much of it. And I recognize he is cheap, so maybe I'm just speaking a little prematurely, but I don't know. Some interesting plays nonetheless. Good spot for bigs. Don't discount Plumlee here. Even if Wood is there, Wood is not, no, he's never been known as a great defender. You could just take the cheaper route, especially on FanDuel, where he's power forward eligible and play Isaiah Stewart. I clicked on Patton, but I meant to click on Stewart. He's been pretty good, right? With the limited minutes he gets. But we're waiting on injury news for that one to clarify some things for us. Brooklyn and Orlando. Ticket to the top. Kyrie Irving game time decision. It's a back-to-back for Orlando. This is probable, so it looks like Kyrie will be back. That's going to hurt the upside of Harden, but also lower his ownership. Take it for whichever way you will. Orlando was without Terrence Ross. Aaron Gordon played 30 minutes. He's been hurt all year. Fournier had his first game back. He played 30 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of these guys sit, which could really affect this game being close, right? Michael Carter-Williams missed. Non-COVID related illness. They're in rough shape, to say the least. And on the Brooklyn side, you're a little reluctant to take anyone too much because you're worried about the blowout. If the injury news shakes out the way we think it will, and even if it doesn't, honestly, it's Orlando. Right, no offense to them. But it might be a situation where you have to look at some of the blowout guys. If you think the game stays close, Vooch has to smash. If you think it stays close, Vooch has to smash. But right now, depending on who's available, it's a back-to-back. They're missing a lot. They're banged up, right? Fournier and Gordon missed a lot of time. But don't get me wrong, if Gordon's a full go, if Fournier's a full go, we can consider them too, because this is a pace-up spot, massive pace-up spot against Brooklyn. But another situation where we're going to need to see how the news shakes out. We are going to move on to Golden State and Memphis. So I think Curry's doubtful, right? Yeah, so Curry's doubtful. Interesting. Oubre is really cheap. Oubre is doubtful. Oh shit, this is getting rough. Not the it's tough. Now that should create some value for us, right? Let's take a look here. Jordan Poole, 24 minutes balled out. That was against Houston and the horrendous defense. But who's going to play point guard? They've got Wanamaker, who's not really playing anymore, it looks like. Nico Mannion, I think the rookie, right? 17 minutes. So I would think that maybe Jordan Poole gets the crack, right? He got a lot of opportunities last year. I'll have to check the film, check the rotations, popcorn machine, all that shit to see. But if Jordan Poole is going to start, if we think he's going to start, I'm interested. Andrew Wiggins, it's only 5'2". We should expect his ownership. We should expect his usage to increase and his ownership too. Didn't fare all that great the last time he was in this situation, but we do have this game is against Memphis, who's just not that great. That being said, going back, Ja Morant's only 7'5", 7'6" on DraftKings. He's been mediocre, but we know he's got upside, right? You would think this is a really good spot for Mr. Draymond Green, who could end up handling some ball handling duties once, as well. Keep in mind, they are missing Wiseman. They're missing Paschal, COVID-19 protocol, I believe. Draymond coming off of an awesome game against Houston. He triple-doubled. I think we're going to be interested in Mr. Draymond Grizzle. I really do. Juan Toscano Anderson could be looking at some time. He was kind of in and out of the game, but wherever he's cheap, it's in play. They might have to play Looney a lot. Looney got 23 minutes against Houston. That's not bad. He's really cheap. Joval, this is a smash spot for Joval, right? Your only center is Looney. It's a smash spot for Joval, but sometimes he has a tendency to get into foul trouble and F things up a little bit. This is a very interesting game. You feel like there's something here. Anderson's cheap. Justice Winslow played 18 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. Bazemore, that's the guy. Kyle Anderson got 30 minutes. Bazemore is min price, 3,500. He only got 14 minutes in 2 straight games, and he's been god-awful. But earlier this year, he showed some upside. Against Portland, he played 30 minutes, went for 26. So Bazemore might actually be one of the top value plays on the slate, as disgusting as that is. And I can see them sliding Wiggins down to the 3, starting Bazemore at the 2. Right? I could see something like that, scenario like that. But very interesting game, nonetheless. We'll move it over to Chicago and Denver. Chicago's been playing really fast. They're going into Denver, not the greatest spot. Levine's price is down on FanDuel, and he's been playing really well, but it's just not the greatest spot. Smash spot for Jokic. If this game stays close, smash spot for Jokic. Jamal Murray's only 6'5". I know he's kind of reduced his level of usage, but it looks like it's creeping back up. Had a pretty good game against Charlotte. 4 steals helped, though. It did. Will Barton, the Denver side, it's easy to like, right? Like, we're interested in the Denver side. The Chicago side is a little tougher to get behind. They did raise Satoransky's price. He's been starting. Harder for me to get behind that. Wendell Carter Jr., they even moved, he's playing off the bench. That's like, what are they doing? Instead of getting your guys some run, you're taking shots with guys like Thaddeus Young. No disrespect to Mr. Thaddeus, but he's been around. You kind of know what he's got. But Jokic, smash spot for Jokic. Centers against Chicago, all day. Really anyone against Chicago, but especially centers. Dallas and Portland, back-to-back for Portland. Luka versus Dame. I do like Luka, right? How do you not like Luka? We'll see if McCollum plays on the back-to-back. Good spot for Porzingis, as far as I see, right? Zion consistently beats up on Portland. I know Porzingis is not Zion, but there will be situations where Porzingis does play a little bit of the 4. And then it's going to be a matchup issue for Portland. Covington is not a big guy. So I think I am interested in Porzingis. Porzingis versus Melo. Oh, shit. Since the Knick days. That could be interesting. Hardaway's only 4-2. That's really cheap with Dorian Finney-Smith, I think, out. Yeah, he's out for personal things. Tim Hardaway Jr. played 36 minutes against the Clippers. Did not play particularly well. But this is a really good price. 4.9 on DraftKings. Not bad over there either. Maxi Max, 40 minutes for Maxi Kleber. So this is a guy we have to consider simply because of the amount of minutes he's playing. 35, 40, this is what's happening. And again, they do have an injury, right? Rodney Hood getting phased out of the rotation. That's what we like to see. No James Johnson either. Wow. So yeah, I think Maxi Kleber, Tim Hardaway, these are some of the value plays that we're going to be working with. I do like Porzingis and Luka. And obviously I like Dame, but, you know, tough stretch. We'll see what happens with Dame as we speak. Last game, we've got Minnesota and Phoenix again. Man, these guys, what do they play every fucking day? It's crazy. These guys are playing as we speak. Prices haven't changed the whole time. Expect Chris Paul to be popular. Expect Rubio to carry ownership at 5.4. They really haven't changed these guys' price. Booker's only 7.5. Cat's in a good spot, but he hasn't really done a ton. Aiden at 6K is interesting. I mean, that's really low. Aiden is 6.4 in DraftKings. Rubio is 6K over there. So, you know, the pricing for this game in particular is actually similar on both sides. It really is. Crowder's still only 3.8. So depending on what happens as these guys play their first game currently, could manipulate what the ownership looks like on this slate. So I'll leave it at that. It's rare that a game takes the same exact path. If the game is competitive both nights, it's usually a different combination of players. Not saying that one player couldn't smash twice, but usually the combinations may be different. Take that into consideration. That's going to do it, nation. Pretty interesting slate. FanDuel raised their donkey up. Shame on you. That's jacked up. But we're going to make the most of it, as we always do. Hit the like button on your way out. Share the show as much as you can. I appreciate y'all. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Yes.